Fellas.
We were having fun talking back there.
We're what?
We were having fun talking back there.
Sure, yeah. We could bring the cameras back there.
Yeah, we'll just keep it going.
Share the memories of growing up, going to the roller rink and the bowling alley for me.
That's it.
Our boring suburban towns. They'd probably like to hear about that. So you guys are out on tour right now.
Yes.
With the Goo Goo Dolls. I want to start with something you said on stage last Sunday, I think it was, that I saw in an online review and you guys put out through Twitter. We were formed in the 90s, but we're not of the 90s. We still, and then there's an expletive deleted, I assume it's fucking. Yes. We still fucking rock.
Watch your mouth, Joe.
So tell me about that. You guys you did come together in the 90s. The first album's 93. You know, what's the idea of putting a little distance between yourselves in the 90s?
Well, we don't want to put distance, but we don't want to be remembered for just the 90s. This is our 9th studio recording, and I use recording. We're about to be finished with our 10th, and you want people to hear what you constantly grow and think we're a better band than we were when we started. You hope so, because it's 22 years ago. Better songwriting, better guitar playing. So we love where we came from. I just want to make sure people still pay attention to what we're still doing now.
Still doing.
Correct.
Exactly.
Right. So not just a matter of saying like, hey, we come from a certain sound that existed before the 90s, because there is some of that in the music.
Yeah, and that's one of the things we made this record. We went back to listening to where we started and wanted to kind of just be a rock band again. We literally sat in a room together and recorded together as a band. There was a second there where that kind of went away for a second. Technology allowed you to kind of go, well, I'll just do my guitar part at my home, and I'll ship it in.
Got to the point where you could email it in the studio.
And it was fun, it was interesting, but when we came back, we were like, no, we started as a band sitting in a room playing, and that's how we're going to do it. So,
but let's take it back even a little further. You guys grew up together. You're brothers.
Yep.
How would you each describe each other? What were you like growing up? Let's start. Describe each other.
There's a 10-year age difference between Ed and I.
Yeah, so I changed his diapers. So we can start there. So because it's just
all right.
big
So he was poopy to start.
And, he pooped on me, peed on me.
True story. So we didn't really get to know, from a human perspective, we didn't get to know each other until Ed had left. Straight out of high school, he went from this small little southern town, which we grew up in, to Boston, to Berkeley.
Berkeley School of Music.
That's right. And when he came back, that was when we kind of connected, I guess, in music, and grew from there. But prior to that, it was, you don't really know.
Right. And same thing, we have a younger sister that's 16 years younger than me. And I was gone, and I really just started to get to know her 10 years ago. It's just been, because we were on a whirlwind run when all that happened. She was still in junior high and high school, so it's a wide range in the ages in the family. So, but it's, Dino, it was, I guess you were about 17 or 18 when you first started hanging out, because I didn't know you played guitar. You came over to Mom and Dad's. I was there one night, and you started playing guitar. I was like, I didn't even know you played guitar. That's how much we knew of each other.
Yeah.
I knew about each other. And that's when it started.
And so right from that point, did you talk about or think about making music together, or when did that start?
It wasn't long after that.
It wasn't long after that. We just kind of, like, Ed was going through different configurations of bands that he had been working with and doing. And I think it was an acoustic set you had going on, and you were like, just sit in one night. And I sat in and I never left. That was kind of the trajectory of it.
And a lot of it was fun, getting to know Dean as a brother, too. Being in the band when all that was going on, it was really exciting, And there were times where, we didn't like each other, but always loved each other. But it's been a blessing just to get to know the dude, because life could have taken you somewhere else. I'd never got to truly know Dean, and vice versa. You never.
So going back to that moment when you start playing music together, and you were talking about how that's where we started as a band, sitting in a room together. That first album I've read is really starts as a collection of demos. Is that right?
Correct. That was done over a 5-year period. I worked in a studio, and actually Will, the bass player's father, had a studio in this small town. So I've been working there, and I I wanted to get a publishing deal. I didn't think the band was ever, really didn't have a band. It was kind of, I was getting a little older, and you don't start a rock and roll career at 29, and so I was like, I'm going to be a songwriter. So I put all these collections of songs that I'd recorded over 5 years. Dean was going to Georgia State at the time, and Album 88, which used to be, to me, a very important radio station because they were the ones that played, the newer music. The first ones we got to hear The Cure and REM from that station and learn. And he took it in there, and they started playing Shine. I think we asked them to play something else, but they started playing Shine, and then literally, that was like in October, they asked us to play their Christmas party, which was sold out, and we're like, everything's just going really fast at that point. Shine just kind of took a life of its own, and we've actually been trying to catch up to that ever since, because when we got signed, we thought, we get to go in and re-record, and they were like, no, this is going out, and that's why the second recording came out so quick, because we were on the road, and I just felt like we were developing as a band, but I didn't think that first record truly was representation of what the band was.
Right. Well, sure. I mean, if you're thinking of it as a songwriting project, then you're actually trying out different songs to go in different directions, right?
Correct. And then we play it live, and then it started taking its own. Some of them would fit, but there's some songs on that record that would never be on a Collective Soul record. I don't. Right. It was just once again trying to showcase the songwriting.
Things did move so quickly, those first two records, and then, do I have this right? Did you play 2 Woodstocks in the 90s?
We did.
94 and 99?
We did.
The only Woodstocks in the 90s, right?
What's that?
The only Woodstocks in the 90s.
The only Woodstocks in the 90s, that is true. Let's talk about how different those two moments were and all the things that happened through that time, because 94, Woodstock 94, kind of the height of a certain moment in rock and roll. It's been a grunge moment, and then 99 is such a different moment, and those events were so different.
Right. I thought 94, and it may be because everything was so new for us, but I just remember that being so special, and then 99 was almost, it was missing that.
Well, 99 is the one that...
everything caught on fire.
Yeah,
it just had a different...
and riots, yeah.
Just had a different energy that, I didn't really dig. 94 was great.
It felt like 94.
I still remember driving up. I don't know if you remember, you had to drive up, and the band live was there, and we all got out, and things were happening for them at the same time, and we're all like exchanging pics. King's X was there. We were following them around until they finally turned around and said, "What do you boys want?" Because we didn't know any different. We didn't know how to introduce ourselves, and people would know the song "Shine," but Collective Soul, they didn't know the name of the band.
Right. And Shine was a top 20, number 11 hit, number 1 rock hit, and then just one number 1 mainstream rock hit after the other following that. Tell me about how things changed over the course of the 90s, because you've seen a lot. You started out independent. You got signed to a major. You've seen a lot of changes through the music industry over the years. You're back to this album's on an independent. Tell me how things changed, what changes you've seen in the industry, and also how things have changed for you as a band.
Well, the industry obviously has changed tremendously. I mean, when we started, it was really the heyday of albums being sold and records being sold. And then you saw the transformation of the digital sales, and then you had the Napster thing, and pardon.
And then Steve Jobs.
Yeah. So then that thing happened.
Yeah.
Which helps even to this day. As far as the music side of it, I mean, trends come and go, and we've always stayed true to, or tried to stay true to what we are and what our passion is for the music.
And we're very careful we want to experiment a little bit, and we have on records, but we're very careful. We're asking each other, we don't want to go too far, because it just takes away the core. I mean, but you do want to move a little ahead. And then on this record, we decided we wanted to go back to where we started from. Really just no frills, just guitars loud and play.
A lot of loud guitars on
Yeah.
this one, and a kind of a couple of distinct looks back to the very very heavy blues riffs, some glam riffs, some '70s rock riffs. Is that the kind of stuff you said you wanted to go back to where you started from? Is that the kind of stuff that influenced you growing up?
It was. I mean, of course, Elton John's the one that started. Well, first concert I ever went to, my dad took me to see Johnny Cash, which is kind of
Wow.
not many people get to say that.
Pretty good first
It's
concert, yeah.
His first concert, and then he took me to see Liberace, and then he took me to see Elton
Your dad
John.
was a man of broad taste.
He was, and he was a minister, and that was the cool thing. He loved music, and he was all
right?
about letting me go to any concert I wanted. He took me to see the Kinks. To this day, is still crazy.
I'm sorry. Your dad was a minister. He took you to see Johnny Cash. He took you to see Liberace, and he took you to see the Kinks.
Correct.
Okay.
I like that religion.
That's what I was going to say. What is that
That's a
church
good church.
like? That's pretty good.
That's a good church. No, our dad loved music. He was a vocal major. He was actually supposed to go to Italy and sing opera, and then he found God and kind of changed his way.
Wow. But still, opera and Liberace, I get. Opera and the Kinks is a strange combination. And so obviously then you grew up in a very musical household.
Correct. Our mom played piano in the church. Dad originally was the music director before he became a minister. So I always say, it was a small town, but it was a house full of music and a house full of love. It was kind of cool.
Wow. And so, I'm sorry, you were saying Elton John was
Yeah, that was-
important starting point for you.
It was. I just remember my dad allowing me to go buy a record and an album, and there was Olivia Newton-John, John Denver, and Elton John. It must have been the John section. And I remember going, that dude dresses really cool. I'm getting that one. And that's how I found Elton John. So looks do matter, or dress does matter, I guess. Not that Olivia didn't look good, or John Denver,
No, sure.
But just that greatest hits, he had that white outfit on, and it just struck me.
Yeah, no. And so how about you? Was Dad still taking you to concerts?
No.
No.
He did not take me to concerts. I grew up a product of the early 80s, so my thing was I kind of follow Ed's lead, and we have a brother between us. So it was, some of the early 80s stuff was the U2, the Police, In Excess. Those were what I cut my teeth on.
And so then, is there a mix of those influences when you're sitting down to write?
I think so, and especially when we come in, as far as the arrangements.
Yeah.
You can hear some of it on this. I mean, there's some of that glam rock that I was really into, and Johnny, our drummer, was into In Excess. So some of the rhythms, we literally go get the record. I'm a record guy. Get the record, and we'll listen to it, and kind of go, all right, let's try this vibe and this vibe. It was a lot of fun.
Well, let's talk about this record. Came out last year, 9th album for you guys. Tell me about putting it together. You said you all wanted to get together, sit in a room, write. Was that a change from the previous album?
To a degree. It was 6 years in between the record and this record, and we'd gone in 3 years earlier to record new music. And at that time, I think, after going at it for 17 years, we kind of looked at each other and just go, we love each other, but we don't really like each other right now.
And
Let's
each took
just
some time for
Yeah.
a solo project.
Exactly.
which was so healthy and probably the smartest thing we could have done. And then when we came back, we had a new drummer and a new lead guitarist who kind of helped with the sound too, because they were like, you're a rock band. We grew up listening to you as a rock band, and we're proud to be a part of this organization. Let's go rock. And that's kind of where it started, with them just kind of coming in and kicking us a little bit.
And when you're getting together and working on this music with new members in the band, had you gone out on tour and played live as a unit first, or was the
Yes, we'd gone out live, and then we started recording, and then we'd go play it live, and then we'd figure out what parts. We actually did pre-production live in front of an audience, which is kind of fun. We'll do it this evening when we play. We try to throw we're about 7 songs. We are 7 songs into the next recording, which hopefully come out next year. But I love playing it live in front of, which is what we did on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th record. We'd play these songs live to audience.
Get a chance to road test the material.
To see where you can take it, what even if people even like it.
Right.
You know, so and we'd go out and play it, and then we go, oh man, we can add this break, because sometimes I'll just make something up on stage, or I'll look at Johnny and I'll just go, let's cut it here or extend it here.
Well, that's really interesting, and of course, it is something that a touring band gets a chance to do, and it's something that you know, we can remember many of our 70s rock idols went out and played whole new albums out on tour before the albums even came out. Neil Young used to do that all the time.
I love that story about Neil Young when he came out and he played it all, the whole new album. Nobody heard it, and he goes, all right, now I'm going to play stuff you've heard before. And he played the same record again because he had already played it. That is the greatest story.
But are there any standouts of things that through this working method that you changed? The songs that we know that got changed on the road through this kind of
That one rock song, Am I Getting Through, kind of took another turn. One of the things that's good to do live, too, is to find what key fits good for Ed singing. Seriously, because sometimes you get caught in that trap early on in recording. Yeah. So we were out doing that.
And then sometimes it just depends on the vibe. We'll switch up tempos and slow it down. And
Are You the Answer was a tempo.
Yeah.
That was the one we were trying to find that groove, and we finally did live, and that helped a lot.
Sure.
It may fit the studio. It may fit like the recording version, but when you get on stage and you're playing in front of people, there's a whole other set of circumstances that start to happen, and it can take on another life. So it could be tempo changes, or you just do a different arrangement.
Even with today's technology, we record everything, so we go back home and listen and go, man, that tempo felt right. That's good.
Well, we've got time for some questions from the audience.
Hello, gentlemen. Thank you for being here. So, what type of musicians did you look up to while growing up? And also, did you have a hard time making songwriting music? But how difficult was that? And what advice would you give to people that's trying to pursue that career?
Well, people I looked up to, of course, would be my mom and dad, because that's who introduced me into music. And like I said, my father would let me listen to a lot of things. I grew up singing gospel, singing in every choir. Songwriting took me years to figure out, because that's a hard thing, letting yourself go and letting go of the bands that inspired you. I remember at one point, I was the worst Cars songwriter on the planet, because I loved the Cars so much that every song sounded like just a bad Cars.
You weren't that bad. It was good. It was good.
But it was that learning process, and I look at it. It really took me, and I can remember one of the songs I wrote where I actually figured it out. And I remember one of the engineers, Joe Randolph, came in and goes, "Now you've got it figured out. Now kind of keep focusing like that."
Was it the arrangement? Well, what clicked in your head? The arrangement?
I think it was
melodic?
it was Good Night, Good Guy, because it had the riff, which kind of starts what Collective Soul's about, and it had a verse, a little pre-chorus, and then the big chorus.
Yeah.
And it was it just clicked. Yeah. I don't know how it happened, but it took me 5 long, laborious.
It is a
laborious
process
years.
of you have to lose your inhibitions and just let it go and see, express yourself fully in that moment. And that's to me, that's what songwriting is. If you can capture that and do that,
And it's tough hearing yourself sing too. I mean, seriously, you got to find your voice.
oh God.
I didn't want to grow up sounding like I sound like. I'm glad I do now, because it's unique, but it's not,
Had something else in mind?
Yeah, of course I'd like to sing like Michael Jackson, who wouldn't? But that just wasn't going to happen in Ed's world. So just once you let go, as Dean said, and have confidence, it'll start to show.
Great.
Hey guys, so is there like a favorite city that you guys like to perform, and what was the craziest thing that happened to you while you guys performed live?
Favorite city? All over the place. Personally, I love being in the Northwest, like Seattle and San Fran, Northern California. Like those cities there's a rich history there in San Fran of Music, as far as like crazy stories.
Nothing crazy's ever gone on stage except the power kept going out one night when we were out with the Cranberries, and of course it wouldn't for them. It just us, like you literally singing, and then it just, and then like, all right, give us 5 minutes.
Every once in a while, one of us will do something stupid and bust our ass and like fall.
But that's just us
Yeah.
being uncoordinated.
Hey guys, so I know you've been around in the game for a very long time now, and that's a testament to your talent and ability. What's the best piece of advice you could give to bands just starting out to maybe possibly have long careers like you two?
Find a good attorney. I'm not kidding. Seriously, find an attorney because, and if you find a good.
Now you're saying that because you actually needed a good attorney at one point.
We almost had to go away because we didn't have a good attorney at the beginning of the band, but that all worked out. And since then, our freedom, because we did have a good attorney. In today's world, I think there's so many different ways you can get your music heard, bands. You just want to be protected. And like us, there's very few bands that we own everything, from publishing to everything.
You own your masters.
Yeah, well, we redid them.
You renegotiated in
Yeah.
order to own your masters,
So-
right? Okay.
Not many bands have that, so I would have never.
And you did hold on to your publishing.
Every bit of it, 100%. So once again, I had a smart attorney who taught me, because it's easy to think that this is your only song, and sometimes if you want to think about sustainability, you got to think about the future. And they're out there, they'll protect you. I'll give you some names.
That's the business side. On the musical side, you have to stay true and honest to your passion and ride that thing out. That's the most, I would say, as I mentioned earlier, like your honest expression, your full expression as an artist, and then be properly represented by an attorney would be a great thing.
We're going to take our final question from an online viewer.
Okay.
So Marina says, I know you guys are Beatles fans. Who is your favorite Beatle, and what's your favorite Beatles song?
Oh.
Wow.
Dirty question.
What's so funny is my youngest son is named Lennon. So, of course, my wife wouldn't let me name him Ringo. So we went with Lennon. And then Will, our bass player's son's named Jude. So Beatles are a big part. God, I can't give you one song. And my favorite Beatle, I think, are all four.
But-
You always hit on that.
But let's start here. Do you have an era that you focus on, like early Beatles, mid period, late period, or does it change from time
It
to time?
changes.
Yeah.
It really changes.
Right.
I just got the mono set of the early records that are up to the White Album, and just they take a different life of their own, and I just love listening to it in mono. And then, of course, you go to the stereo, and
Yep.
it's just a...
Because I find with a band that you love that much, sometimes you pull out the Beatles' second album and you think, why haven't I been listening to the
Yeah,
early
exactly.
albums? And you get obsessed with it.
And
I got to say, George is a little underrated.
that's
The Quiet Beatle.
Quiet Beatle.
Well, yeah, I think he may have been a bit of the glycerine, the thing that made John and Paul work together. So I'm
And they did
George.
pretty good together.
They did well.
They did pretty good. Pretty good.
They did okay.
And what about a favorite song or an album?
Favorite song? Here Comes the Sun. I'll stay with the George theme for a second. Yeah.
There you go. All right. Well, there you go.
And I like Tax Man, too. That's a George
Tax,
song.
yeah.
I love that riff.
While my guitar gently weeps.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So maybe
Keep going. Here we go. It keeps going. We'll be here all day talking about Beatles.
All right, guys, we're going to leave it there. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Jeff.
Jeff. Thanks, guys.